Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It is a pretty calm, somewhat cool morning. I mean, not bad here in the Ozarks. A little foggy, but overall not a terrible morning for the early part of December. Decent weather, I guess you could say, for this time of the year. I'm a little dragging this morning, so I apologize if I seem like I'm half asleep, because I feel like I'm half asleep. I just haven't had enough caffeine just yet. Today I was up half the night handling medical calls, so just one of those things. So remember back when Biden was president, and there was all this talk of them compiling lists of extremist Americans, and everyone hated that idea and thought it was an awful thing and it was going to lead to genocide and everything. Well, Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice Attorney General, has ordered the FBI to start compiling lists of extremist Americans. Now, of course, because this administration has a somewhat conservative slant, most conservatives might say, well, that's a good thing. Yeah, we need to know what all these extremists are and all these terrorists and everything. The problem with this, when government does it, because government doesn't ever do anything truly fairly or efficiently or especially morally, who's determining what extremist means? I mean, what is the determination of that? And so that's the concern, I think. Right? I don't care if it's a truly conservative administration or not. When they're compiling lists of Americans that they deem to be extreme, you never know what's going to pop up in that list. So I just thought I'd point that out, that it's a government thing. It's a big controlling government thing to do this. It's not necessarily a left versus right thing to compile lists of Americans. That's just what it is. Do you see the FIFA, the soccer? Yeah, and it's soccer. The soccer thing where they presented President Trump with a peace award, world peace medallion, something like that. Number one, the award, the statue thing is kind of creepy looking. A bunch of hands coming out of something and holding the earth. It looks really creepy. But anyways, I just wanted to point it out that that's just kind of a made-up award. This is the first time they've ever done it, and they just kind of made it up to present it to the president. It's just stuff like this is strange. And I'm really trying to stay kind of neutral ground, in the middle here on stuff like this, and it's just strange that we have to tell everyone that the economy's doing good and make up awards to claim peace. It's very Orwellian is what it feels like to me. But I don't know. Some people get it, a lot of people don't. Europe does seem to be continually moving towards more of a stage where they're probably going to engage with Russia. So over the past few months, you're all aware of the mini drones and stuff that's been flying over different military installations in NATO countries. And the suspicion and some evidence indicates that it's Russian. At least some of it is. That it's some kind of Russian control, whether they're testing the boundaries, testing security systems, spying, or just being antagonizing. It looks like a lot of them are Russians. And for a long time, the world was saying, well, why don't you just shoot them down? Well, NATO countries are starting to do that now. They're shooting down drones, they're scrambling jets, all that kind of stuff that's been happening the last few days. So to me, it just shows that there's a little bit more of an escalation. It's also hitting the news, and I don't think this is terribly big news, but I'm only going to mention it because it's out there and people are talking about it. Back in February, and that's the key thing. This has been quite a ways back. Back in February, a Russian drone hit the Chernobyl dome. And if you don't know what that is, most of you know that, Chernobyl melted down and this big, radiological disaster in biggest one in history, I believe. Well, anyways, that site where it melted down, they built this sarcophagus around it, this dome and everything to protect and to hold the radiation in. So anyways, back in February, a Russian drone hit that, and now it's come out that through testing and study and stuff, that it did breach the dome enough that it is possible that radiation can leak out. It compromised the structure, although they are saying that there's no detectable leak just yet. And I know that sounds very like, okay, so it's basically a nothing story. Yeah, kind of it is. But for some reason, right now, that story's kind of getting legs. Almost as if it's going to be another argument that, well, Russia attacked this, trying to leak, radiation, and so that's another act of war, and blah, 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 that kind of thing. So, it means nothing in a lot of ways, but I think it'll be used as something. It's how it's taken, it's the reaction. I tell you this all the time. It's the reaction of people in government that really matters. Sometimes not so much the actual event. But it does look like that things are continuing to escalate over there, and that Europe is kind of posturing itself to where it's going to take the reins. It's jumping in the saddle, and it's going to take the reins. And it, okay, if Trump forces peace on Ukraine, that doesn't matter because Europe feels that it's in danger of Russian invasion, and so they're going to potentially preemptively take care of that. And that is the story. That is the belief that NATO may preemptively strike against Russia to start a war. I don't know. They think that one initial preemptive strike is going to stop everything. Unlikely. But that's what it looks like it's building. And then on the other side of the little ball, and that right there, that statement just really irritated a lot of you guys. But hey, I sometimes I take pleasure in just irritating people. Japan and China. There's reports that Japan and China are very close, near to some type of conflict, an escalation. Because escalations have already been happening. So, of course, Japan is siding and kind of defending Taiwan. China's been escalating things around Taiwan just in the last week. Surrounded or had about the largest naval force in that area ever. China has also been flying planes very close to Japan and sailing their naval fleet close to Japan. All that kind of stuff. Well, it's escalated now. Reports are that a Chinese fighter jet locked radar onto a Japanese plane. And, obviously no shots were fired, at least that's what they're saying, but that's an escalation. And so it's just another thing that is kind of in that trending territory that it looks like things are escalating there. And then the final thing, this whole story about down in Venezuela with the drug boats and blowing them out of the water and everything. I got to thinking, and I don't recall seeing anyone bring this up, but anyways, the latest thing where, they're saying, hey, they dropped more than one bomb or one more drone on these people, and they purposely did it to kill them, not just to stop them. And is it some type of, criminal act and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, the story is now coming out due to the admiral that was over that testifying that particular boat that it's in question was not actually going to the United States. It was going out to sea to a type of submarine to have its stuff offloaded and then transported out. And I've heard that many times that, these boats, obviously, they're not capable of reaching the United States. So these drugs or whatever it is that's being put into it, these boats, they're not physically capable. They can't carry enough fuel to go all the way to the United States. It's just not possible. And so I've heard it over and over. The story is that they're going out to sea and they're offloading their cargo into ships or into, these sort of submarines and stuff so that those, vessels can either come to the United States or go to Europe. So here's the thing. If that's what's going on, then why not take out those boats and those submarines? Instead of trying to take out the small fry, get the big ones that's got all the cargo on it. It's kind of like, arresting the little drug dealer on the street. You really want the big guy, right? I mean, in theory you do. A lot of times just because of the, corrupt ways that government does stuff, they're not really wanting the big guy because they're involved with the big guy, but they want to look good, so they arrest the small guy. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing. If we know where these boats are and we know that they're going out to sea to offload, cargo and all this kind of stuff, why not just take out the boats out to sea? I mean, if they're bigger cargo vessels, wouldn't they be an easier target anyways than some speedboat? I mean, is it just because it's less dramatic? Is it because those boats out to sea are more official? Flagged under some nation, or that they're part of some government agency? What's the deal? I thought of that yesterday. I thought, oh, wait a minute. Why not just take out the big boats? And they may have more cargo because they may be having several of these speedboats take cargo out to them. I don't know. It's just something I thought of. And the thing is the point I'm trying to get to is that this whole story, it's ridiculous. It's a political ploy. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not drugs. I'm not one of those that's saying it's not drugs on these boats. I don't know what's on them, but they're probably drugs. But it's, the idea that this is going to greatly reduce the amount of drugs coming in the country is kind of absurd. I think it's just a big show. It's being done to entertain the masses. It's a bread and circuses kind of thing, the Coliseum. And it just shows kind of where we are at as a nation, that it doesn't take much to kind of throw a bone to people and entertain them for a while. While, the Epstein list is still not out, and, inflation does keep going up, and, debt has gone up. National debt's gone up almost $3 trillion just this year alone. So there's all of that kind of stuff. Anyways, I'm rambling, and sometimes that gets me in trouble, so I think I better just stop there. We need to be definitely, absolutely, preparing ourselves, because the world, like I've said so many times, the world is posturing itself for war. Nations are, corporations are, banks are. All the indicators are that everyone that knows anyone and that has anything is preparing itself for war, whether it's for financially preparing or militarily or whatever, or resources. And so you need to be doing that also. I mean, it was just, I think yesterday, the Secretary of Defense or War, Pete Hegseth, was calling on Americans to, send their children to the military, that it was the patriotic thing to do or something like that, we need to join up. So it's, everything is preparing itself for that. And so you need to be doing the same thing also, on a very daily, regular basis. And I'm not talking just the physical stuff, because honestly, that's the easy thing. Talking about that mental and especially that spiritual preparedness, because it's not just bombs and bullets in this war. It's very much spiritual in this war, and that's where you really need to be prepared. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.